Raise your hand if what you ate this morning consisted of something like cereal, coffee, or toast. Now, keep your hand raised if you can pinpoint a moment today where you felt anxious or unfocused. Now, what if I told you what you ate this morning wasn't just fueling you, but fueling trillions of bacteria in your gut that could potentially affect your emotions, your anxiety levels, and your social behavior? You may have heard the term gut feeling before. That could be referring to maybe butterflies in your stomach or an uneasy feeling when you're stressed. But gut feeling is not just a metaphor. It's a term coined based on the fact that our gut is actually connected to our brain. As someone who is constantly researching about food and is obsessed with nutrition, it was through my research in nutrition and neuroscience that I found that what you eat is not just affecting how you digest food, but actually sends signals to your brain based on emotional imbalances. So today I'm going to explain to you guys how exactly our gut is an emotional control center, what foods can impact our gut health and our emotional signals, and how improving your gut health can transform your relationships and your confidence. So, how exactly is our gut an emotional control center? So you probably know that our gut is filled with bacteria, fungi, and viruses. But did you know that your gut has over 500 million neurons, which is more than the neurons in your spine? Also, 90% of serotonin produced in your body is actually coming from your gut, which is the mood and happiness neurotransmitters, which shows us how our gut has more of an impact on our happiness than you might think. This is why scientists often refer to the gut as a second brain. So how are the gut and the brain even connected? They're connected by something called the vagus nerve. Think of the vagus nerve as a mass communication highway. The vagus nerve communicates from the gut to the brain and also from the brain to the gut. But today I'm focusing on how it communicates from the gut to the brain. It carries messages all day long through this nerve, and when our gut senses things like stress or imbalance, it sends these distress signals to our brain. When our gut is balanced, we see that the emotional signals become stable. When it's unbalanced by factors like our diet, antibiotics, or stress, regulation becomes severely faltered, which is why mood swings may start in your gut, not just your brain. Now that we understand how exactly our gut and our brain are connected, I want to talk about what foods can trigger mood swings. So we all know processed foods can be very dangerous. Processed foods like cereals, pastries, and especially chips release dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter related to pleasure and feel-good feelings. Dopamine is highly addictive, which is why when you eat processed food, it feels like almost like an addiction. And our brain is getting that short-term burst of dopamine. Meanwhile, our gut is suffering as we're feeding all these harmful bacteria in the bottom row right here and starving the good bacteria. Over time, high consumption of processed food can lead to inflammation and even things like anxiety and depression. So certain foods can actually boost the good bacteria in our body and support calm and focus signals. So fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, and kimchi, along with fiber-rich foods like oats, bananas, and greens, create these natural compounds in our bodies that actually fuel the top row of these bacteria, which are good bacteria. And when you're not eating enough of these kinds of foods, you're essentially starving those bacteria, leading you to rely on a dominant bacteria on the bottom row. So these natural compounds not only feed these bacteria, they strengthen our gut lining, they relax our signals, and they lower our stress and improve our sleep. Now, everyday habits like caffeine can also be negative for our gut health, as they give us short-term alertness, but too much caffeine can actually overstimulate the bacteria in your gut, leading you to have high cortisol levels, which is the hormone related to stress. When your cortisol is high, your brain becomes distressed and often leads to feelings of anxiousness and tenseness. So once your inside of your gut is balanced, then you can begin to see how your outer world begins to balance out and your social life and your relationships and confidence begins to improve. So I want to talk about how restoration can actually impact your empathy, your social interactions, and your confidence. So research shows that gut health genuinely can change behavior. There was a very compelling study I found that where they took rats that were social and outgoing and took rats that were shy and withdrawn and transferred the gut bacteria from the social rats to the shy and withdrawn rats. Within days, they found that the shy rats were able to interact confidently and they were able to explore more and adapt to their environment. And the only change was their gut bacteria, and their personality completely changed just because of that. This study shows us just how impactful gut bacteria really is. And healthy gut microbiome boosts the production of neurotransmitters that ease our social interactions. Like I said earlier, our gut is responsible for majority of our serotonin production. When our gut is balanced, our production of serotonin and oxytocin is really high, which is associated with trust and emotional warmth. The higher the production of these things are, the smoother our flow of signals become. That way we become more connected, empathetic, and socially confident and less withdrawn. So now I hope you understand how what you eat not only feeds your body, but feeds your feelings. Now you understand how the gut communicates directly through the vagus nerve and nervous chemical networks. What foods we eat shapes our gut ecosystem and our emotions, and how restoring our gut can actually enhance our mood, reduce our anxiety, and give us more confidence. Our gut truly is our emotional control center, our second brain that guides our thoughts and feelings. So whether it's your morning toast, your midday latte, or your late night snack, each bite influences more than just your digestion, it influences you.